So a fairly low stakes game with not a lot to write home about, to be honest with you. But I would say, actually, a fairly favourable result at West Ham 1, Brighton 1. As I say, not really a lot to write home about. I thought it was an okay game, actually, to watch. I think I've seen a few people say that it wasn't so great in terms of being the most exciting game we've ever seen. But I've got to say, with myself, I felt like it was quite danger-free. And I think that is probably what let me enjoy the game a bit more than what I normally would do with like your standard game, right? Because most games, frankly, you just sort of, I feel like we go in sort of scared of losing them. And we actually end up losing them anyway, right? So it kind of just seems like a pointless worry in the end. I think sometimes if you just go into something with a negative mindset, certainly this is the way that I feel sometimes. I'll go in there with a negative mindset and, just to make sure that I protect myself so that, if we do lose, it's fine. It's kind of what I expected anyway. But if we win, then great. It's a bonus for the weekend. Doesn't ruin your weekend then. You know what I mean? But today, I think, I went in there again, I think probably expecting to lose, even though Brighton are on a bit of a downturn at the moment. But we got a positive result. It was a 1-1 draw. I was in a sort of a situation, actually, funny enough, where I was looking at the result at the end of the game because I was out doing something Christmassy, and I was going to catch the replay, and I accidentally went on to Twitter, and I sort of glanced at the result and caught it. I was like, no, quick, turn it off. Why did I do that? I've got this weird, I don't know what you would call it, like compulsion, I guess, like just habit, muscle memory. First thing I do, pick up my phone, turn it on, go to Twitter, refresh the page. Terrible thing to do, especially if you're like myself, who's trying to avoid results for UFC or boxing or anything like that might happen at like 4 a.m. or something like that, right? Last thing you want to do is wake up in the morning, quickly ping up Twitter and see all the results right in front of you, because it happens every time, right? I need to stop doing it. But anyway, so I digress. This time, I put it up, there was a picture, and I misread it because I glanced it and I realised exactly what I'd done, and I just flicked off and I went, no, I can't. And I said out loud to my wife, I said, I can't believe I just did that. And but then I sat down and the kids are watching the same Christmas film that they've done for ever, and I've seen it all before. So I made my excuses and I went and I watched the game. I watched the replay. And yeah, as I said, because I'd seen this result, and this result in my mind, now I hadn't, bear in mind, what I thought I saw was a picture of West Ham celebrating with Todibo in the picture, right? Bear in mind, I saw this for half a second, and what I thought I saw was 1-0 West Ham, right? And what I thought I saw was a caption that said, a valuable 3 points or something like that, right? And I just thought, I can't believe it. I don't know the score, but I know the result is what I had in my head. My result was like West Ham 1 is what I thought I saw. I thought I saw 1-0, like I say, but I was certain in my mind that valuable 3 points, right? So I was certain with 1. So bear in mind, I'm watching this game through the lens of we won, right? So I've got not a care in the world. So bear that in mind when I'm going through this, that, actually I'm looking at it through a completely different lens. So, right, look, as I say, a fairly low stakes game. I think it was really, really even. I think we played quite positively in the first sort of 10 minutes or so. I felt like we were getting the better of them. And I felt like they were there to be got at. But I think that we sort of took the foot off the pedal a little bit, or maybe they closed a few gaps or whatever that might have been, and we ended up just sort of, kind of keeping it all mostly midfield, I think, for the majority of the game. Nothing was particularly exciting, I wouldn't have said. Like I say, nothing really to write home about. Nobody, I think, had a particularly bad game. There were a couple of players I felt that just sort of went a bit missing today. Emerson, I think, was one of them. Didn't really see a lot from him. Unless he's, scoring a wonder free kick, or he's, linking up with some nice play with Paqueta on the left-hand side, which just doesn't seem to happen anymore, obviously, because Paqueta's not out there on the left. He's sort of... I haven't really seen a lot from him for a while, so... Which is a shame, because I was one of the people sort of singing his praises, really. Certainly last season, maybe the beginning of this one. Memory's not so great on that. But... so I think we probably need a bit of a shake-up on there. And actually, when I've seen Wan-Bissaka down that left-hand side, now I know he's a right-hand side and I don't want to move him, it just kind of proves to me, actually, that there's more to be done down that side. So, that's why when you see Wan-Bissaka around there, you think, well, do you know what? If we get, like, the equivalent, bear in mind, Wan-Bissaka's brilliant, right? And I'm not necessarily thinking we'll find that equivalent straight away. But having someone down that side, almost to that level, I think would be a great lift to us, just from a performance perspective and an energy. I just felt like, Emerson just really didn't have today. I felt like he was really lacklustre from an energy perspective. Just didn't really see him. About that much. Ultimately, he got replaced by Ollie Scholes, which again, really positive, great for Ollie to get some minutes in the legs. I think it was his home debut, so congratulations, mate. I don't think, he's quite up to speed yet. He's got a little way to go, but I think that actually this could be a really good thing for him, because you just don't know until you start playing them, like how they're gonna go. Are they gonna sink or swim, right? We've got a few players out on loans and stuff at the moment, so we've only got a couple of academy players to play with. And I think that Ollie Scholes is one of the few that should be now starting to take that leap into the adult game, right? So as I say, I don't think he had the worst game in the world, but he definitely got a bit overwhelmed by Minte on that side. So I think that it's going to be going to do the world of good for him in terms of experience and trying to plug some of those holes in his game at the high level that we play at in the Premier League. So positive for him. I think, as I said, like, look, when we for the game, generally speaking, I think it was quite evenly contested. That much is obvious when you look at the stats as well. And I think towards the end of the game, I think it was probably the last 15 minutes or so, Lopetegui changed the tactics to a back three, clearly looking for sort of a more counter-attacking, bait them on and hit them on the counter sort of tactic there. I think we saw a few long balls because, we weren't really able to play through them at this point. But I felt that was a bit disappointing and a bit negative, actually. I mean, I'm all for changing up your tactics a little bit, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't, right? But I think in this instance, I think that maybe, I'd have preferred to stay a bit more positive, a bit more on the front foot there. I don't think it would have changed the result, but I think it probably would have changed just the general overall enjoyment of the game. But, that's not everything, I guess. You do still have to get results, especially if you're in a position like Lopetegui's in at the moment. Which, you've got to say, like, what a tough couple of weeks it's been for Lopetegui with his dad, and I think we've all lost people, and I think it's got to be so difficult, especially when you're fighting for your job, to put all of your effort in the right way, and so difficult as well with everything else going on in the club at the moment. It's been a very sad few weeks. I hope that there are, bluer skies ahead for everybody, especially around Christmas. These things can be really difficult. So, I do feel for him. But ultimately, he does need to get these results. And I think today was as I say, not necessarily the most positive of games, but it was a positive result. So yeah, okay. It was a bit disappointing, I think, just to go out and just sort of take the draw rather than go at them. As I say, I think we were there to be got at. But I just feel like we're missing some firepower up the top there, some creativity. I just don't think we're very well drilled in that area. And obviously when we are still leaking goals at the back, that's really not a good combination. But to talk, I suppose, a bit more about the front three or so. I want to talk about Fullkrug a bit. So obviously we didn't get Duran, and that was a bit of a kick in the teeth, but I was still quite positive when I saw like the first interviews for Fullkrug, because I just felt like, he's a bit of he's a kind of a company guy. Like, I really felt like he was going to really be a bit of a cult hero at West Ham. I felt like he had the right attitude. Everything was kind of ticking the right boxes. Obviously had that really unfortunate injury. So, that can't be helped. But now I think it's just he's got to pick up a bit more fitness. And whilst that is true, I do think that he was just so out of position, like fairly often throughout the game, throughout the first half. And I just think, he needs to be playing right in that centre period so that we've got a target man to go for. If we're getting down the bylines and we're crossing through, we've got somebody to get it into who's going to turn it into the net, right? And he just wasn't. He was just so far out wide most of the time. And then if those fitness levels aren't there, he's not running back. And he's not a particularly fit, like fast, dynamic player anyway, right? He's more neat and tidy and knows where the goal is. And I think his first touch I was really pleased with. It was just a tiny little dink round the corner to I think it was Bowen. It might have been Kudus, I'm not sure. And I think it was Kudus actually, and he was offside, but it was really, really beautiful. And if you can do a bit more of that, a bit of vision, which I think we've been missing. He stands to have a utility. But at the moment, I was really pleased to see him starting, but I think he just needs quite a bit more time to settle into the way that we're playing. But I'm not convinced he's the right centre forward for our style of play. Not that we fully understand exactly what that is, what that's trying to be. Okay, so Paqueta, I thought just again, I didn't think he was particularly great today. He's not been that great for a while, but today I think the worst part of him was his defending. The commentary team, Tony Gale was on the commentary team, and he was berating Paqueta for his poor defending, and rightly so. I really felt like he had a bad game today in terms of his defence. There was a couple of elements where on the attacking side he had a couple of bright spots, but really it was one to forget, I think, for him. And speaking of the defence, I think I'm really confident in the players that we have in defence. Wan-Bissaka, Kilman, Todibo. I think we've got some really good players there. I just really feel like our setup and tactics is all wrong in that space. And I think that might be to do with perhaps our desire to get forward, and we're just kind of maybe working in that area and forgetting the defensive areas, which is really kind of making us leaky. Of which I felt like, it was a fairly positive starting lineup today, although I was a bit concerned about Mavropanos, because again, he did the same sort of thing, right? Stupid mistake, fairly solid otherwise. But I think I prefer Todibo. So that back four with Emerson and the others that I just mentioned there, that I think is the right back four for us at the moment. But I think we just need to put a bit more emphasis in that area and tighten it up, because it's clear to me that it's until we get that kind of figured out, the best offense is a solid defense, in my opinion. But hey, look. I said before the Leicester game that we needed sort of like 9-10 points from the run-off games up to Christmas. And so far, I think we are on 5 points with Southampton and Liverpool to go. So that's an absolute must-win. So 3 points at Southampton and a pretty nailed-on loss, I would say, at Liverpool. I hope to be proved wrong. If we can get a point there, that's incredible. But I just don't see it happening. And that brings us, without that, speculative point, to 8 points. So one shy of the threshold in my eyes, right? And as much as I've seen some little glimmers of hope out there, I just don't see us picking up any steam anywhere, especially with this run of games that was going to be so positive and hopefully have us pick up a good number of points in the run-up to the Christmas break. So, I mean, as I've said it a couple of times before, and yeah, we've had some unfortunate sort of timings and bits and pieces and stuff like that, but I really do think that, the Christmas break is going to be the time to really evaluate whether or not we've got the right manager here. I don't think, we look at the team that we've got and the talented players that we have. We've said this so often. We need someone who's going to be able to get a tune out of them. And at this point in time, I'm not seeing it from Lopetegui. I'm not seeing it accelerate quick enough. And we're going to be in danger of losing a lot of these players and losing all the momentum that we've built up over the last few years from European football and the prestige that we've built up from winning the Conference League. We're in danger of losing all of that if we take this too slowly. We need some bold decisions to be made. And I think this is the time to make it. As much as we might not be able to get the right kind of managers that we would get potentially at the end of the season, we need to be pretty bold here. I don't know who that is, by the way. I'm not that guy, but I feel like we will know that Lopetegui isn't that. Okay, so I'll wrap that up there. It's been a strange season so far. But look, I hope everyone has a great Christmas and Boxing Day. Hopefully, I'll see you on the other side. Well, as I say, an absolute must win at Southampton. Have a good one.